It's great to be here, and I'm enjoying all the presentations, and I'm learning a lot. And Bitcoin, I think, is part of the emerging global currency wars. This is an excellent book by Jim Rickert. It came out just 6 months ago or so, called Currency Wars, and it gives a history of the currency wars. And we're entering a period in global finance that's very interesting and very unusual because the nature of currency itself is being radically transformed, and there's massive changes going on. Before I get into that, I just wanted to make kind of a side observation, which is one of the things I picked up on in one of the earlier meetings was this idea of the over-the-counter Bitcoin market, the OTC Bitcoin market, and the idea that people are meeting essentially and exchanging Bitcoins and expanding the Bitcoin universe this way. And in my notes that I keep all the time to kind of, I always try to keep up to date on all the latest developments on all of the, it reminded me of a couple of items from the news last year. This is from a few months ago. Tide detergent is a new currency. Tide detergent has become a form of currency on the streets. The retail price is steadily high, roughly $10 to $20 a bottle. It's a staple in households across socioeconomic classes. So here you have, as the global markets are deteriorating, as this wealth and income gap are expanding, as the central bankers are becoming ever more fraudulent, the currency markets are breaking down and they're morphing into these different things. So you see these types of things springing up out of the grassroots. Then you have another story similar. Gum stolen from UK is being used as a currency on the black market in Romania. After 2 Romanian men were jailed for stealing more than 1,000 pounds of chewing gum from Asda, they then, this is according to PC David Walton, we're not talking about a couple of packs, we're talking about 700 to 800 pounds a week. And this is, he's done some investigations in Romania. If you go into the shop and purchase goods as opposed to change, they give you sticks of chewing gum. So this shows you that on the grassroots level, there's already an appetite for the OTC Bitcoin market. There's already people out there, millions of people out there that are checking out of the formal banking system, and they're trading chewing gum, they're trading laundry detergent. Come to them with Bitcoin, it's going to be an amazing step forward. It's got properties that are remarkably better than chewing gum. So I think the market is rife for this. And to get into this currency war themes now, here's a story, here's a headline. Cyber finance takes its collateral thinking test. Since abandoning the gold standard, there's been a shift away from the idea that financial transactions need to be secured on tangible assets. Assets are pledged and repledged numerous times to generate credit flows. Now, of course, when they're talking about cyber finance here, they're not talking about something like Bitcoin. They're talking about how over the past, as they say, since going off the gold standard in 1971, finance has been increasingly become more abstract. And so we went from a gold standard, we went to a petrodollar standard. We have trade informing the global currency grid and the Forex markets in terms of global trade. But this is also breaking down and becoming non-existent. You have now a situation not only that's degraded the fractional reserve banking system, we're going to a zero reserve banking system, we're heading to a negative reserve banking system. And when they talk about cyber finance here, they're talking about practices in the UK such as rehypothecation. That was a big news during the MF Global scandal, where MF Global, JP Morgan, they went into customer accounts. They stole $1.2 billion, which is a new high watermark in the crimes we've seen over the past couple of decades. Actually, segregated customer accounts being stolen from this group. MF Global, of course, connected to John Corzine. John Corzine, of course, his excuse, his defense, why and where this money went to. He said, well, it went into the vapor. It vaporized. Now that defense worked. He's opening a new hedge fund. There was no prosecution. There was no arrest. There was no incarceration. He used the defense. The money simply vaporized. Again, compared to Bitcoin, Bitcoin looks like solid gold compared to this. Which I'm going to get into later in a good presentation about comparing Bitcoin to gold and silver, because I think there's a parallel there. So here you have this cyber finance and rehypothecation. Rehypothecation simply means that in finance you can put up securities as a loan for financing. That's hypothecation. And rehypothecation suggests that you're relending some loan securities again for additional lending. And in the United States, the regulation is 140% of the rehypothesis limit to how much you can rehypothecate against security. In the UK, that law is unlimited. There's unlimited hypothecation or rehypothecation. It's rehypothecation to infinity. So you have the same securities as they say. The financial transactions are pledged and repledged numerous times. Numerous times. Infinite numbers of times. These same securities are sold an infinite number of times. So you end up with this financial system where, again, it's negative asset reserve system. Forget fractional reserve system. That would be a vast improvement from what we have now. If you have rehypothecated securities to infinity, your negative reserve system. The system is imploding in real time. The reaction from central bankers is, in the States, they come up now with quantitative easing to infinity, quantitative easing without any limits. $40 billion of mortgage-backed securities to be purchased every single month with no limitation whatsoever. This is a blatant, basically, capitulation by the Federal Reserve Bank, who now understands that the ability to grow out of the current debt crisis will never exist, will never happen. There's only one solution now, and that's going to be for printing money, and this is then going to be the de facto basis of what is becoming this currency war, because now you have a race to the bottom. All these countries are going to be printing to debase their currency against each other to ostensibly help their export market to try to grow their way out of this debt crisis by incurring more debt. So this is what's happening here. This is the context in which Bitcoin has emerged, and why it's such a valuable piece in this war that's going on, and why I follow Bitcoin. Because we, on the Keiser Report Show, we cover the financial war, as we call it, the currency war. And we try to we do frontline reporting. We go to Ireland, we go to Athens, we do these reports, and we try to cover what's going on in these wars. Obviously, in Athens, the financial war has resulted in huge social unrest, social poverty, austerity, suicides. We talked to Paul Moore, who was formerly the top regulator at HPOS here in the UK, and he was on the show, and he said that because of the financial crisis that's now 5 years in the making, there's been 100 million people have now been thrust into poverty. Of that 100 million people, of course, there are millions now on death's doorstep, many have already committed suicide, many are starving, many are dying. And I put it bluntly, I said, isn't this then the equivalent of a financial holocaust? And Paul Moore said, yeah, basically that's what we're talking about, a financial holocaust. So this is what we're all basically facing. And the propensity of the central bankers and the central planners to get us to buy into this is never ending, especially now since there is no ability to grow their way out. I saw an interesting statistic a couple of years ago which has stuck with me, which is that of the remaining trillion or so barrels of oil left, we've already got the top 1 trillion barrels. Roughly speaking, and now there's roughly a trillion barrels left to drill. This is clearly the case. All the easy oil is clearly not available. That's why people go offshore. That's why people do the oil sands projects. That's why people are doing all these exotic drilling techniques. It's because the easy oil is not there to get. I mean, that's a very clear indication that you've reached a point of the oil industry having some real economics that makes sense. But now it's becoming less sensible to be in that business. But if in fact you were to get that remaining $1 trillion of oil, burn it, and generate the economic GDP that results from it, it would not be enough to extinguish the current debt load. The derivatives market, which is debt, is over a quadrillion and growing fast. So even if you burned every single gallon of oil left on planet Earth, you still wouldn't pay off the debt. So there's going to be no payoff of this debt. There's not going to be any growth. There's no policies. There's only currency war. And the number one weapon in the currency war is debasement. And again, Bitcoin fits into this because Bitcoin actually, as a currency, has got some fantastic attributes.